concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. How'd you like that drama? The drama of trying to turtle mode. Oh, can he do it? Can he get back up in the air? Oh, see, it's a good trick. Even though you're right side up, on these bottom mount battery ones, you can still have props in the grass. So you can turtle mode while you're right side up to try and balance yourself on your battery. That's what you're seeing me do here. I don't know. The first time I thought of that, I was like, oh, I never thought of that before. So, you know, here we go. He's up. Here we go. Any minute now. He got it. Oh, yes. Oh, that's me flying the 533 switchback that I built. Flying pretty damn good, I have to say. Welcome to the stream. Hello, everybody. Oh. Uh-oh. Wait 1 second. There we go. Had the wrong camera preset. I'm on high. Good to see you here, Lexi. Hope your foot is doing well. I don't know the details, but I saw that you were in an ambulance and you went to the hospital and then you skipped some live streams because you were not feeling well. It's something to do with an injury. I hope it's not too serious, and I hope it's doing well. I've always kind of loosely been into racing, you know, like go out and race without much practice or prep. But this year I decided to try, and I got tired of Kevin Turner beating me. Kevin Turner is Evan Turner. Of course, most people I think know who he is. Kevin Turner is Evan Turner's father. He is a pretty darn good pilot in his own right. And he and I used to be about equally bad. And he's been practicing a lot. And he's gotten way, way better. And it used to be I'd just show up at a race with no practice. And he'd still usually win, to be fair. But it'd be like, hey, you know, two old slow guys down in the sportsman class. And we would race and give each other a hard time. And then he just started trouncing me. So I was like, oh, well, I better up my game. That's not my entire motivation. But, yeah, I built a Switchback Pro and have been doing some racing practice. And my goal, I don't know how many races I'm actually going to attend because traveling is challenging for me and also usually not that enjoyable. But I'm shooting to get a good time on the global qualifier. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. It is Sunday afternoon, as you probably already know, and we're going to do some Q&A. I'm going to be taking your questions. People asking, first of all, what's my shirt? This is my shirt. Hang on. There we go. It's the dude. It's the dude from The Big Lebowski. I got this shirt for Father's Day last year. That's what I'm wearing today. I'm really impressed with how that 533 Switchback flies. There have been so many moments going through that spiral. I created that course, and I tried to specifically pick elements that I had struggled with. And the two things that I've mostly struggled with are, number one, getting to full speed on the straights. A lot of times I don't get to full speed on the straights because because I need to be able to get to full speed on the straights and then like hit a gate at full speed without having to slow down. So I put that long straight through a gate, arcing around a left turn and then through a gate to try and keep speed up. And then the other thing I've always struggled with is those spirals where you'll have three gates side by side and you'll spiral through them. And I've flown racing quads before, like various ones. It's not like I just took my freestyle quad out and was shitty at racing. But something about this one, I'm just better. And I feel kind of silly saying that because, I mean, what's the difference? So we've got motors, props, flight controller. Like it just flies really, really good. Maybe it's the weight. I don't know. 533 Switchback I'm really impressed with it. So, did I tune the Switchback Pro? Yeah, I'm sure I posted my tune, didn't I? Didn't I post my tune? I really would have thought that I did. Hang on. Yeah, Betaflight setup. I'm sure. Yeah. Here is the Betaflight setup, and yeah. Excuse me. Sorry about the burps there, guys. Here's my CLI dump, including PID tune. Also, Evan Turner has a PID tune that he's posted. 533 has posted a PID tune for it. The thing that I didn't like was that the 533 PID tune is on Betaflight 4.3, and I didn't feel comfortable encouraging people to flash a nightly build because 4.3 isn't released yet. So you can find a 4.2 PID tune there and my 4.2 PID tune if you want to. It's working pretty good for me. Anyway, those spirals, I found myself going through those spirals, and I don't know if there was a great example of it in that video, but there were times when I would hit that spiral, and normally I kind of stay mostly upright and do it kind of as a kind of circling the drain kind of a thing. But I found myself going through the spiral and actually inverting and spiraling through it, and I was like, who is this pilot? And it was me. So it's a very, very good racing quad. I'm still not going to win any, I guess I have one race. That's right, Lexi. I need some Train Insane training. Lexi's got a series she did. It's Mayan High in the chat if she didn't know. Lexi's got some series she did called Train Insane, where she worked really hard to get good at racing. get better at racing. And yeah, it reminds me of my 3 packs a day series I did for freestyle. Silver Fox. Generally, I don't think people use both Hypersmooth and Real Steady Go on the same footage. I think people pick one or the other. Hypersmooth is quite good, and of course has the advantage, especially Hero 8 with Hypersmooth Boost. It's quite good. Before Hero 8 with Hypersmooth Boost, I doubt that you could have used Hypersmooth and just replaced like Real Steady. But Hero 8 with Hypersmooth Boost is good enough to replace Real Steady. You can use both Banister Post. I just think most people aren't. I suspect that if you intend to use Real Steady Go, then the best thing to do would be to not use Hypersmooth at all on the camera, so that, like, I don't even know, like, will the gyro data work with Real Steady Go? I think if you intend to use Real Steady Go, you would not use stabilization in the camera. You would just do it all, because when you enable Hypersmooth or Hypersmooth Boost in the GoPro, it crops in on the field of view. That's always true with stabilization. You would just want to have the cleanest footage coming out of the camera and then do all the work in Real Steady Go. Yeah, Banister Post, that's my suspicion. That's what I suspected. If you use Hypersmooth, Real Steady Go won't work. I wondered about that, because Real Steady Go is based on the gyro data, and if Hypersmooth is active in the camera, the movement of the video won't match the gyro data of the camera. So, 507RC says that Hypersmooth is 80% as good as Real Steady, but none of the extra work. Yeah. Hypersmooth Boost. I don't think that plain old Hypersmooth is, I mean, people did use it, and it does have some effect. But Hypersmooth, I don't feel like Hypersmooth by itself, like nobody would feel that it could replace Real Steady Go, I think. But Hypersmooth Boost in the Hero 8 and then the Hero 9, obviously, there are times when even a pro would be like, you know what, I'm just going to use Hypersmooth for this shot. The big advantage of Real Steady Go is that you can control how it works and what it's doing. You can control how aggressive it's smoothing, and you can dial it up or down. So especially if you're doing like professional work for a client, you may be like, oh, hang on, I need a wider field of view for this one part, so I'm going to dial back the smoothing. Whereas with Hypersmooth, you just kind of get what you get. But no one's using them on the same time, I don't think. So this is what we're going to do, folks. We're going to chat for about 2 hours. We are going to take your questions. And just in case you're new here, here's what I got going on. This is my main screen right here. I got the YouTube chat over here on the left. I got my Discord over here on the right. We're going to be answering your questions from the chat. Bad for Life says, I have a GoPro 6. Hypersmooth is shit. Yeah, on the 6 and the 7, it's not that good. I'll be taking your questions. If you want to make sure I get to your question, hit the $ right down here. Leave a super chat. I will be reading out the super chats at various times during the stream, but I'll also be taking questions, of course, from the regular chat. Thank you so much, Evil FPV. And over here on the right, we got the Discord. How did I make my gaming chair stop squeaking? I didn't. Yep, nope, still squeaking. There you go. This is my Discord server. If you want to join these beautiful people over here, you can get an invite by becoming a patron. You get an invite by becoming a patron. Patreon's a website where you can support me for as little as $2 a month, or more if you feel like I've earned it. Just basically like subscribing to anything you subscribe to. Just a monthly, just give me money every month. And you get to join the Discord. That's one of the advantages. But mostly you just get to feel good about supporting me. Or not. If you don't do it. But there are great people over there in the Discord. Super, super helpful. And I'll be paying attention to them as well during the stream. So, that's what we're going to do for a couple of hours. There we go. Adam is looking for a budget pair of goggles with a budget around £200 or $250-ish. Looked at the Fat Shark Scouts and the Cobra X's. Are there any others that are good value? I feel like those are, in fact, the best choices at that price range. I don't think that there is a binocular style of goggles like Fat Sharks that come in at that price. The cheapest binocular style goggles that I think are worth looking at are around $350. Maybe under the right conditions, you can get one as cheap as around $300. But I feel like you're looking at box goggles in that price range, and the Cobra X and the Scout are the two ones that I would look at. I don't know. I guess FXT Viper comes in around $160. I don't think it's as good. I think the Cobras and the Scouts are the ones to look at, and my pick would be the Cobras because the receiver is quite good. So there you go. Thomas Shoes World says, how much support do you need? How much support do you get each month? If you're in need, I may consider helping you out. Don't think of it that way, Thomas. Don't think of it that way. How much support do you need? I mean, I think it's like your boss saying, how much money do you need? How much money do you need to get paid? I don't know. How much are you willing to pay me? The real question is, if that's the way you're approaching the question, then just don't. Just enjoy the videos, enjoy the live stream, and don't, you know. I would rather you be like, God dang, this Bardwell guy. I've been watching his videos all week. I've just been binging Bardwell videos. He answered my email. He helped me solve a problem. Oh, he's got a Patreon? Yeah, absolutely. That's how I want you to feel about it. If you don't feel that way, like sometimes people are like, if you answer this question, I may consider joining your Patreon. I'm like, don't. Just don't. I'll answer your question. Just don't make it like, don't make it all dirty and weird. Don't just don't. Yeah. It's like think of it this way. You know what a busker is? A busker is one of those musicians on the street, and they got their guitar case open, and you throw a dollar in. There's a busker on the street, and he's playing music, right? It'd be like you going, you know, if you play some music, I may consider throwing a dollar in. It's like, well, first of all, I'm already playing the music, and second of all, I'm going to keep playing the music, whether you throw a dollar in or not. If you like the music, throw a dollar in. If you don't like the music, keep walking. But don't try to make. What's it worth to you to play a song? Subscribe if you want to subscribe. All right. Is ExpressLRS worth picking up? Asks Ezekiel Anderson. Is it even close to Crossfire? Yes. Okay, so first of all, in terms of raw performance, ExpressLRS is absolutely on par with anything else out there, period. No doubt. In fact, I think most people would agree that in an apples-to-apples comparison, ExpressLRS would beat Crossfire and basically everything else for pure range. Because ExpressLRS uses very small, very efficient packets. And that means there are some things it can't do. Like, you can't drive servos off of ExpressLRS aux channels, because ExpressLRS aux channels do not have a contiguous range of movement. The aux channels are not designed to drive servos. They're designed to be aux modes. So, like, the aux channel may be a 2-position channel, and it can either be on or off. That's it. The aux channels, some of them, they maybe have like a 6 or maybe even, I think, a 16 position. But there's limitations to what you can do with ExpressLRS. Within those limitations, though, ExpressLRS gives extremely consistent packet timing and extremely good range in terms of watt for watt of output power. So it's absolutely on par with Crossfire, etc. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want it. ExpressLRS fans, cover your ears. You're not going to like this part. Some people, they want like a little bit more of a prepackaged experience. Crossfire, you got TBS Agent X. How do you flash Crossfire? Plug it in, press the flash button. Done. Crossfire, Ghost, Tracer, they bring things to the table. Some people would argue, oh, ExpressLRS can go 60 kilometers and Crossfire can go 45 kilometers. Who cares? I'm flying 3 kilometers. It doesn't matter. Can I just have aux channels? Some people would say. I'm not here to make that argument for you, but 100% ExpressLRS is on par with Crossfire in terms of range and performance. So you can't use ExpressLRS with planes. No, Nikolai Brutus, be careful. I said aux channels. ExpressLRS, the 4 main control channels are full regular aux. They're regular channels, 1,000 to 2,000 microseconds. But the aux channels, if you needed 2 extra channels for flaps, you couldn't do that with ExpressLRS. Now, the ExpressLRS guys would say, yeah, what you do is you get a flight controller, and you put the flaps in the flight controller, and the flight controller manages the servos. So you flip your aux modes, and you put the plane into landing trim, and the flight controller handles the actual movement of the servos. Yes, that's valid. In general, though, I think ExpressLRS is more focused on multi-rotors. Bear in mind, there is absolutely nothing stopping the ExpressLRS guys from releasing a firmware that has full servo support on the aux channels. And if there's a demand, they totally will do that. But once they do that, some of the additional range that they're getting now because their packets are so small will go away. So Elemental Little is asking for the Discord link. Didn't we just talk about that? How to get onto the Discord? I think we did. So, am I ever wearing pants while streaming? Sometimes. Today I'm wearing shorts. Running shorts. I mean, it's not like I'm wearing a suit shirt on top, so it's not like I'm kidding anybody. License to Drive says, essentially, ExpressLRS main channels are analog and the aux channels are binary. Yeah, except they recently changed the aux channels. It used to be that the aux channels were either 2-position or 3-position. And they recently, and I feel like I don't want to take too much credit, but I do want to give the ExpressLRS devs credit. In order to do that, I'm going to pretend like I was the one who drove this decision, even though that's probably not true. I talked about ExpressLRS and I complained about the fact that the aux channels were either only 1 or 2 position, and that limited what you could do with them. Within the next week, ExpressLRS had been modified to have, I think they have like 6 or 8 position and 1 16 position. I'm going to get the details wrong, so I apologize for that. But they had addressed that. And it speaks to how quickly the ExpressLRS devs are listening and responding to things that people are asking for. So they're not binary, because binary would imply 2-position only. But there's like, you could have 1 2-position for arming, then a 3-position, then several 3-positions, maybe 1 6-position, 1 16-position. I don't know the limits. That's not exactly right, but that's the gist of it. Okay. Lord Wolf is having issues with his quad. Every time I barely tap the ground, it goes into a death spin. What's the issue, and is there a solution for it? This is a hardware issue, almost certainly. I've seen this happen when the flight controller or ESC has a problem, and you don't have a capacitor, and sometimes that'll bring the problem out. It shouldn't happen, to be fair. It shouldn't happen. But like maybe a voltage spike causes the ESC to flip out. I've seen cases where this was solved by adding a capacitor. If you already have a capacitor, I would be thinking about replacing the ESC or the flight controller. Unfortunately. Huff19 in the Discord wants to know, anybody here use a WoW stick? What's you guys' opinion on this? Here we go. Now, there are lots of examples of this type of product. This is a WoW Stick Pro upgraded electric screwdriver. It's basically a small electric driver. Do you guys use this? Everybody, I have mixed feelings about it. I've seen people use it and really like it. It seems to get the job done for certain things. At the same time, I kind of dislike having to change bits. It's one reason I've stayed away from it. I like to be able to just grab my M3 driver, boom, and now, but then I'm like twisting and cranking, especially putting in long stack screws. It's such a pain. It would be nice to just be able to go whooshie. Tell me in the chat, what do you guys think of these? Yes or no? Worth $50? Inside the Mind of Matt says, I use one. It's great. Fits right in my bag. They don't have enough power. Yeah. So one of the things I've noticed is that they don't have enough torque. Like, they don't have enough torque to break loose a really tight screw. Now, I think that, like, you can crank it, and it'll kind of break it loose. And they don't have enough torque to finish. Like, if you're putting motor screws in, they don't have enough torque to really torque them down. So you're going to be coming back after it with a driver anyway. I don't know. It feels like there's the number one place I want them is when I'm putting in like a 25 millimeter stack screw and I'm just sitting there going, forever. But most of the time, I'm not sure how much time it would save. Most of the time, I feel like I would be going back with a regular driver anyway. Yeah. $50. The people who love them love them. I'm not sure it's worth $50. Well, I mean, I haven't bought it, so that should tell you my opinion. Buzzkill in the Discord says OSD and sometimes video cuts out during high Gs, but not necessarily on punch outs. Any ideas? It feels okay. So if full video is cutting out, the first thing I would wonder, anytime you're losing video or something like that, I would start to wonder, is the quad losing power? So I would want to like have a GoPro on the quad if possible and look at the GoPro recording, because the GoPro is self-powered, so it's going to keep recording. I would want to know if I hear doo-doo-doo, that would tell me the ESC rebooted. Or if I just hear doo-doo, but not doo-doo-doo. If you just hear the doo-doo, then that would tell me the flight controller rebooted. Now, assuming that you don't hear those things, that tells you that you're losing video. Losing OSD. Losing OSD, but not camera. That tells you that the flight controller is not rebooting. Because if the flight controller was rebooting, you'd see the Betaflight logo pop up. And the quad would stop flying, so you would know. So let's assume the flight controller is not rebooting. Let's assume the ESC is not rebooting, because you would have said the quad falls out of the air. So you're losing OSD. That points to electrical noise. The OSD, the flight controller, has to keep track of the sync pulses from the camera, and then it draws the OSD. And if those sync pulses get lost because of electrical noise, the OSD will disappear. Buzzkill's giving us a video here. Oh, we can't have any music in the video, though. Hang on. Here we go. Let's look at this video from Buzzkill. I got it muted, so I don't think you guys will hear the... Yeah, okay. But, where'd the OSD go? Oh, it's back. Now, that's interesting, because normally if you have electrical noise, it'll be shaky the whole rest of the time. But there, it's not shaky. It just disappears, and now it's back. Now, we do have a little bit of electrical noise. You see these bands here? These wide, dark bands. That is electrical noise. In my experience, wide, dark bands like this are electrical noise from the voltage regulator. Notice that these don't change as the motors spin up and down. Oh, shoot, I'm zoomed in. Hold on. Sorry, guys. There we go. These wide bands don't change as the motors spin up and down. They stay the same. Let's watch it again. You see they're consistent? So that is noise from the voltage regulator. Now, there was another dark band that went down the screen. Watch it again. Right there. To me, oh, and it happened right as the OSD disappeared. Normally, a dark band that moves down the screen like that, I would think was Wi-Fi. But the fact that it happened right as the OSD disappeared certainly is relevant. No, that's not Wi-Fi. I don't know what that is. These bands here are from the voltage regulator. And we don't see any motor noise. There's no thin black streaks. That's motor noise. And then it's back. Now that voltage regulator noise is a little annoying. We could fix that with a capacitor, but on the output of the voltage regulator, or by changing how the camera and the VTX are powered. But mostly, I wouldn't worry about that. It's fairly consistent. To me, this feels like the OSD chip is failing. The fact that it just like blinks and disappears. We got one frame of pure black. Interesting. The fact that it just blinks and disappears, it feels to me like the voltage regulator is failing. And now it's back. Not the voltage regulator, the OSD chip. I apologize. That was a misspoke. I mean, I'm assuming you haven't set up an OSD switch. You can set up a switch to turn your OSD off. I'm assuming you haven't done that. Doghouse FPV in the Discord says the OSD is losing sync, probably from electrical noise. Doghouse, the thing is, I don't see any motor noise. I don't see any motor noise in there. Hang on. Like, let's look at this one. This is an example of a motor screw touching the winding. Hang on one second. So this is what a motor screw touching the winding sometimes looks like. Not always, but sometimes. Okay? I'm trying to find a good example of... I'm trying to find a good example of the kind of motor noise I'm talking about. No. No. I don't have a great example of just regular old motor noise. Doghouse says that black screen meant you lost sync. It takes the OSD. I see a few frames to recover sync. But Doghouse, if it recovered sync, why did... Oh, Yeah. I'm suspicious of that. I don't see any signs of electrical noise that would cause the OSD to lose sync. If he has the OSD on auto, it might be switching between PAL and NTSC. I'm 99% sure. Why would it do that? I don't know why it would do that. Well, it's tough. I don't think we have it. But here's the other thing. You said you lose video too. You said does that mean black screen or static, Buzzkill? Michael Moolman says if you don't have a GoPro, what cam do you recommend? Do you mean as an action cam? Refurbished GoPro. I don't think the camera rebooted because we didn't see I don't think the camera browned out. We would see the camera's OSD pop up and the little on-screen messages. So I don't think so. Sometimes full black, sometimes gray, but never static, Buzzkill says. So you can assume that this is a camera or OSD issue, but not a VTX or ESC or power issue, is how I would read it. If the camera had lost power, we would see the run camera, the Foxeer logo. We would see it say, like, personal 4.3, whatever. Every time the camera powers up, there's some little garbage that pops up on screen for a second. So the camera didn't lose power. I'm leaning towards a flight controller issue here. That's what I'm leaning towards. But it could be a camera issue. Maybe the camera lost sync. I think the simplest thing to do right now would be to replace the camera. It's cameras are not that expensive. You can spend $20 on a cheap camera if you just want to test if you don't want to buy a premium one. And then you got a spare camera for your next build if it turns out not to be the problem. And it's fairly easy. You just take 2 screws out, boop, plug the new camera in. Versus if I say, oh, I think it's a flight controller problem, now you got to resolder the whole flight controller. So I think what I would do in this case is buy another camera, swap the camera out, and see what that does. That's what I would say. Good troubleshoot. Let's get some super chats read. We're about a half hour into the stream. Let's read some super chats. Evil FPV, thank you for the $5 super chat. Get some Kleenex. KCUFAM, thank you for the $5 super chat. WD-40 for the gaming chair. WD-40 is not a lubricant. It's not a lubricant. Right, guys? Right. AVE fans. WD-40 is a penetrating. Is it a penetrating oil? I know it displaces water. I know that it does that. Degrease. It's a water displacing spray. WD-40 is not a. It's a water displacing spray. It is not a grease or oil or lubricant. I mean, I'm sure it has some lubricating properties. Diashin Boy L, thank you for $2 Australian. New to FPV, iFlight Protek 35 versus Beta FPV Pavo 3.0. Thoughts? The Protek 35 is 3.5 inch. The Pavo 3.0 is 3 inches. To me, that's one of the biggest differences between them. I found the Protek 35 to be a little bit much for indoor flying. I know people use it that way. I think I'm happier with a 3 inch if I'm going to do a lot of indoor or tighter Cinewhoop style flying. The Protek 35 I thought would be very good for outdoor if you're flying close to actors and you need them to have a degree of safety due to the ducts or prop guards. Protek 35, I feel, will probably have a higher top speed and be easier to keep up with faster moving things, where you don't quite want a 5 inch. You want a Cinewhoop style quad, but you need a little bit more speed. I think for indoor stuff, I might take the Pavo 3.0. Has to be acknowledged that Beta FPV QC is hit or miss. iFlight, I feel like, has a better track record of things that don't just die for no reason. Whereas Beta FPV, some people out there are like, no, it's been great. And other people are like, it died right out of the box. And it's hard to know which of those you're going to be. Nick Sebring agrees. It's not a lubricant. It dries up. Sean Cross, thank you for a $5 donation. Mad Fiction FPV, thanks for $5. What antennas should I get for the Ishin Pro 58 RX diversity module being used on DJI Goggle V2 analog conversion, and what polarization? It doesn't matter if it's being used on a DJI. The answer is the same. I am a big fan of the Lumineer Axi. There's the Lumineer Axi V2, and then there's the Xylo, which is exactly like the V1 Axi. So it's pretty good deal for $10. Vaz Ion is a really good goggle antenna. I think that one's very good. For patches, Lumineer has an Axi patch. I'm also a big fan of the Vaz, the TrueRC X-Air, or the Vaz Crosshair Extreme. I think those are very good. So, those are some suggestions. Hectectica, thanks for a $5 super chat. Crossfire module will almost never reconnect after replacing the quad battery. I have to reboot the TX16S to reconnect. Update didn't help. Hectectica, I don't have an answer for you, but I think I've noticed this too, and I don't know what's causing it. I have a lot of different quads, so it's pretty typical that when I pick up a quad I haven't flown in a while, I have to do a rebind to force Crossfire to update the firmware. Because I've updated the firmware on my module, and then I haven't flown this quad for a couple weeks. But I've noticed it seems like I'm having to rebind these Crossfire receivers more often. And I'm like, I'm sure I updated the firmware on this. I don't know what the answer is there, Hectectica. I think what you should do is roll back the firmware. Joe Murrow says, hey, just curious, do you answer YouTube video comments? Because I keep commenting and I never got a response. Joe, here's the thing. I do answer so check this out. Here we are. We're looking at my YouTube dashboard, and we'll go to comments and mentions. So right here, YouTube shows me the latest comments. But here's the thing. So several times a day, I'll go here, and I'll just answer any of the comments here that I want to answer until I get back to one that I see that I already scrolled back. So I try to stay caught up on this. But YouTube doesn't show me all the comments here. There are comments on old videos that they're just like, nah. And I know this because every so often somebody will say, hey, I've been asking you a question on another video. And when I go to the video, I see the comment. So the problem is I have, 3,000 videos. So this is basically, if you don't end up in this inbox, then I'm not going to see your comment. The other thing is, YouTube holds some comments for review. And some of these comments, yeah, like this one. Oh, Steel Rain FPV I don't know why this got put into held for review. YouTube just does this. Oh, Steel Rain FPV, so mad. So mad. Yeah. Yep. I'm glad this got put into review. Hey, Steel Rain. I also have a Pyrodrone affiliate. In fact, if you'll look at my review of the Pyrodrone FPV backpack, it has an affiliate link. I'm a sellout, but I told the truth about a backpack that I had a problem with, even though it cost me money because I was making less affiliate sales. Yeah. I bet if Tyler from Race Day Quads has a similar product, I wouldn't be as forthcoming. You know what? I didn't use the Race Day Quads backpack. I never talked about it again after I reviewed it. I reviewed it one time, and then I was like, nah, obviously I'm going to keep using my Torval. But the Pyro backpack, I took to Rampage. I used it as my actual backpack. I gave it a fair shot to be my #1, and I made content about it at Rampage, and I showed it off at Rampage. And then when it broke, what should I do? I should also say, the first time it broke, the buckle broke. And I thought, maybe this is just bad luck. I'll let Serge know. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Let's just see what happens. But then when the stitch ripped out, I was like, no, I'm sorry, I got to make a video about this. So no, you're actually just completely wrong. But that kind of comment just ends up in held for review. I don't know why. Sometimes, yeah, see, like, here's Mr. Rob. JB, dude, I need some help here. I don't know why this is being held. You see, it's automatically held. But I generally don't look at held for review because there's just trash in there, and I don't care, and I don't want to see it. So, I do answer questions, but if you don't, you're subject to the algorithm. The thing is, you're always welcome. You're always welcome to email me or message me on Facebook. And I will do my best to answer you. So. Oh my gosh, who's spamming? It's Kip FPV. I don't know what you're doing, Kip. I'm putting you in timeout. The chat says you're spamming. Let's catch up on these super chats. I was just finishing up super chats. Hectectica, I don't know what the deal is with Crossfire needing to be rebound constantly. I've also feel like I've run into this problem, and I haven't figured it out. Daniel P489, thanks for a $10 super chat. Michael, no question, just a super chat. Michael, thank you for a $5 super chat. 6S build, do I need a voltage regulator if I use the DJI Air unit with Luminaire Elite 60 amp, yada, yada, yada? Well, the question is, does the Luminaire Lux H7 HD Ultimate have a voltage regulator? I assume it does. But let's look. Oh, have you guys seen this flight controller? Jiminy Christmas. This is a hell of a flight controller. Yeah, do you want 15 motor outputs? Because they got it. More motor outputs than you can ever imagine. Christ. Oh, I'm going all out of my way to not take the Lord's name in vain for all the religious people out there, and then I just dropped the ball. Oh well. Where's the DJI plug on this guy? That's the big question. Where's the DJI plug? Like, surely it's got one, right? Yeah, okay. So, in general, if a flight controller has a DJI plug built in, you can assume it has a voltage regulator. And in this case, we're confirming. So you do not need a separate regulator. You can plug the air unit directly into this plug, and you'll be fine. That's the answer to your question, Michael. Daddy with a hobby. Thank you for $5 Canadian. What does it mean if the FPV goes black and white and the video seems to move to the side? What would cause a death roll? If the FPV goes black and white and the video moves to the side, it just means that you're getting some breakup. The signal is weak, and, you know, that's completely normal. I mean, it's normal when you're at the edge of your range. It doesn't, like, mean anything other than that. It's like saying, what does it mean when I'm listening to the radio and it goes... Okay. That just means that you're getting some interference or breakup. What is a death roll? Death roll is when a motor on a quad stops spinning for some reason, and the quad usually just goes into the ground. It's called a death roll because it's very unlikely once it starts that the quad will recover. Like, sometimes the quad will go and it'll come out of the death roll. But generally, once the quad starts to death roll, you're just done and you go into the ground. Carlos Botros, thanks for a $5 super chat. My plug for the DJI wire harness broke off the flight controller. Can you show me a pinout if possible? Mamba F405 Mini DJI. Oof, that's tough. Because on a Mini, there may not be backup pads. Let's look. Let's look see if we can find a pinout. Diatone is usually pretty good with their pinouts. If Newbie Drone would show us. Let's check Pyrodrone. Let's see here. Diagram from Help Center link. Mamba F720. Okay, where's the link? Where's the link? F722. What is this? Diatone Mamba F405 Mini. Mini Mark 3.5. Is this it? I think this is yours. Let's take a closer look here. Where do they put the... Hello? Hello. No, shut up. Mamba F405 Mini Mark 3.5. Are these the same? Oh, it's the ESC is different. That doesn't really matter. Where's... Oh, but this isn't the DJI, is it? Where's the DJI? Flip. F405... No. Dagnabbit. F405 Mini Mark 3.5, but that's not DJI. Where? Flippin'. Help me out, chat. Where is the frickin' wiring diagram for this frickin' board? Nowhere. Oh, yeah, here we go. Hallelujah. Oh, it's low resolution. Let's see if we can read it. So it looks like there are backup pins for that plug. Okay, so what I would do is, if you rip the plug off, these pins appear to be backup for the plug, and you can solder directly to these pads. So that's what I would do. And these pads seem to match. I mean, I would confirm this, but the pads are usually in the same order as the pins. But that's what I would do. I would just use that, and then it would be exactly the same. I hope that answers your question. TechBot, thank you for a $5 super chat. I flew my new Flywoo Hex through a prop, and FYI, Betaflight still doesn't like flying one prop down. Yeah, no. I did a test with the Flywoo hexacopter to see if it could fly with a missing prop. In theory, a hexacopter can, but Betaflight just couldn't do it. Carlos Botros, it's not the same. What do you mean it's not the same? That's not your, is that not the Mini? Was that not the Mini? No, that's not the Mini. I'm sorry, Carlos. I can't frickin' find a pinout diagram for your flight controller, dude. I'm sorry. I can't frickin' find a pinout for it. Is the challenge here. F405 Mini DJI. Is this it? This says F405 Mini DJI. Yes, this is it. Okay. Oh, shut up. Oh my God. Really? Hackers are trying to get my information. Please, can I have a wiring diagram for this GD flight controller? Are you effing unbelievable? Unbelievable. Oh, yeah, that's so useful. Is this it? That's the Mini Mark II, not the DJI. Thank you very much, MPFPV, for trying. That's the Mini Mark II, not, and of course there's no markings on the flight controller. So I'm sorry to say, if we can't find a dang wiring diagram, then I don't know what we're gonna do. How about this one? No, we already. This is the full size, not the Mini. It says Mini, but it's not. The pads are under the plug, says Jackson Morse. It's missing one joint on the Mamba F45 US. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I can't find a stupid wiring diagram for your flight controller. That's what we have to do, though. We have to find a wiring diagram for it. People are saying they're on the bottom side. Yeah. They're on the bottom side of the flight controller. They're under the plug. There usually are backup pads. Anyway. Sorry we couldn't do better for you, Carlos Botros. John Lees, thank you for 10 Canadian dollars. Thanks for doing what you do. Thank you, John, for the donation. Daniel P. 489, thanks for $5 US. My bad. The original question didn't go with the super chat. I have an issue with throttle not responding to inputs in Betaflight. AER changed with offset, not throttle. Throttle. The first thing I would do, I guess. I mean, I would verify. Oh, I know what your problem is. So go to the receiver tab and verify that your throttle channel is moving, which I assume it is. I'm going to guess you're in turtle mode. When you're in turtle mode and you arm the quad, nothing happens until you push the pitch roller stick. But only 2 motors will spin, and that'll be your giveaway that you're in turtle mode. You've activated turtle mode, I think. That's what I think. All right. Oh, we're caught up on Super Chats. Jack Nash, good to see you here, man. Bright until I fly. Congratulations on 300 episodes of Let's Drone Out. I'm not sure, but I think Let's Drone Out was one of the first podcasts I ever went on. And somehow, despite Jack being involved, it has gone to, it's almost up to 300 episodes. So congratulations, Let's Drone Out. Congratulations. Yeah, DJ Pop, I agree. I can't find a pinout for that exact flight controller. Throttle doesn't change at all, says Daniel P. It's stuck at 2000. Okay, so you have a problem in your controller. You look in your mixer screen. If you don't see the throttle moving when you move the stick, like in the receiver tab, then that is an issue with your controller setup. Oh, is this the Mini? Oh, did we find it? Carlos Botros. We may have it. We may have it. Is this it? I think this is it. This might be it. All right, so what do we got here? Oh, flip you. TX2 and RX2 are the UARTs. Are those anywhere else? Yes. Okay, so here we go. Bingo. So on the underside, there's TX2, RX2, 9 volt, and S-bus. So we have to find these pads elsewhere on the flight controller. For example, S-bus can go to RX1, TX2 and RX2 for the MSP connection. We need a 9 volt. Ooh. Do they not break the 9 volt out anywhere else? Shut up. They do not. Ooh. They do not. That sucks. So I don't see anywhere else you could get 9 volt from the 9 volt regulator. Anywhere convenient. If you're running on up to 6S, Carlos Botros, then you've got a problem. Vista can take 6S, but Air Unit cannot. Yeah, if you've lifted this, you know what you could do? You can solder to the solder bridge itself. So what you would do is for power, this pad right here, don't bridge the solder bridge. Solder the wire to this pad. That's 9 volt. That's what I would do. Anyway, we finally figured it out for Carlos Botros. Cadix Vista can take 6S, Bannister Post. It's the Air Unit that can't. I Am Knobs wants to know, is it worth it to change the Tinyhawk 2 to 0802 25,000 kV with GemFan 3-bladed props? What does the Tinyhawk 2 come with? I don't, let's look what it comes with. What motors does it come with? I don't know why you think the Tinyhawk 2 has really low thrust. I mean, it's not like the most powerful, but it flies. I mean, it flies pretty good. You want to change to 0802. 25,000 kV. Well, I certainly wouldn't run 25,000 kV on 2S. 0802, I feel like 25,000 kV is used for very, very light tiny whoops. It feels like that's going to be too much for this quad's weight. Dry weight 31 grams. Yeah. So there you can run like a 22 gram tiny whoop on 25,000 kV motors on 1S, and it's already like, that's already a lot. Some people would say it's too much. Some people would say it's just enough. But if you then take that quad from 22 grams up to 31 grams dry, 43 grams, I don't see how you're going to be able to run a 43 gram quadcopter on 25,000 kV motors. To me, that seems like it's not going to work. Daniel P489, the issue with the throttle being locked out, it's not turtle mode anymore. Once you told me, Daniel, that your throttle channel is locked at 2000, now it's not turtle mode. It's a problem with your controller. Your controller configuration is not outputting your throttle value. So you got to go into the controller and you got to look at the mixer screen, for example, and see if the mixer is set up correctly to output the throttle stick. Yeah, Toady RZ, exactly. If you run the Tinyhawk 2 on 1S, I thought it was a little heavy compared to the Tinyhawk 1, but it flew. On 2S, it's really too much. So, I mean, why would you want more power? If you got a Tinyhawk 2 and you want more power, get some 2S batteries and it'll be ridiculous. Like, you would probably want to use a motor scale to slow it down a little bit. License to Drive says Ciotti recommends 25,000 kV motors for whoops. Yeah, I know, but Ciotti's talking about, I mean, your License to Drive, you're arguing that a tiny whoop plus an Insta360 Go can fly on a 25,000 kV. Therefore, that's approximately the same weight as the Tinyhawk 2. I guess. I mean, if you're trying to carry the Insta360 Go, you're making some concessions to flight performance. I don't think that 25,000 kV on a 40-gram quad is ideal. If you've already got the Tinyhawk 2, just run it on 2S. Fair point, though, License to Drive. If you can run a 25,000 kV motor on 1S on a 20-gram whoop with an Insta360 Go, then probably you could also run it on a 40-gram Tinyhawk 2. It feels like you're really pushing that motor, though. Andrew Duncan, thanks for a $5 super chat. I just got the Crazy Bee F4 AIO flight controller and the 0802 17,500 kV motors from Tinywhoop for my first drone. What are your thoughts on that pairing? Yeah, it sounds fine to me. I mean, I assume the amp rating on the Crazy Bee is okay. I don't know a lot about the newbie drone flight controllers. I'm not always able to keep them straight. They've got some silverware flight controllers. They've got, and then some of them are brushed, and some of them have a built-in VTX, whereas some don't. In general, I think newbie drone makes good stuff and is a fine choice. Oh, Rick Munn says the Bardwell frame is on the way. I'm so excited. Yes, the Bardwell frame. I guess it's been, I mean, should I spoil the surprise? I haven't released the unboxing video yet because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But if you ordered the FPV crate, this is one of the things you're going to get. I have an unboxing video. It is my frame from Lumineer. So excited. So I'm going to be working on my ultimate freestyle build now, finally. Finally, after literally years of planning it. I'm super excited for you guys to meet this frame. I'm very, very happy with it. I'm very thankful to Lumineer for putting it out with me. It is the QAVS, but I requested a few changes. You want to know what the changes? I guess we'll talk about it. It's not the... So I wanted it to be... The first thing I wanted was a solid top deck, because I just don't trust that split top deck. I know everybody swears it's fine, but I don't trust it. So we got a solid top deck, and that got rid of one of the standoffs as well, which saved a little weight. That middle standoff is gone. The other thing we did is we made the bottom plate, the front bottom plate is now 3mm instead of 2, which gives more durability in head-on crashes. And we slammed it so it's only 22mm standoffs now instead of larger standoffs. All that together means that the weight, the total weight, is still, I think it's 112 without the battery pad and 115 with the battery pad. But you get a 3mm bottom plate basically, you know, for free. So, yeah, I'm super excited about it. No devil horns. Yeah, so here's the deal with the devil horns on the end of the arms. We were going to do that, and the manufacturer came back and said basically that I'm not going to go look for the image, but the way that the devil horns were laid out on the sheet of carbon meant that you couldn't cut as many arms out of a single sheet of carbon. And it actually significantly reduced how tight you could space them in. And it would have increased the price of the frame. So what we decided to do was sell the frame without the devil horns so that if you don't want them, you don't have to pay. It was like $5, I think, just to get the devil horns. That's at retail. But then sell the devil horn arms separately. So if you really want the devil horns, you can get them. But that's the direction we ended up going with that. So you should be able to get the horns, but you'll have to buy the arms separately, which means you're going to spend you're going to spend more, you know, because you're going to end up with a set of arms that you don't want because they don't have devil horns. But that was how I felt about it. Siati says, "Take my $5. Damn you! I wanted the horns." There you go. I'm going to lose Siati on this one. What do you mean the thrust is on 15%? Yeah, I am knobs. So what you should do, I am knobs, is go to 2S and then use a motor output scale to bring the power down to something you can manage. CR Crozy says, why not 3D print the devil horns? Yeah, so CR Crozy's, that's an idea that we had as well, was instead of cutting separate arms, what if you had like 3D printed arm guards, or even arm guards cut out of carbon, so that you could just add the devil horn to the end of the arm instead of having to replace the whole arm. I don't think we've really sorted that issue out. So for right now, it's just being sold like this. We are thinking about how to solve the devil horn problem. The arms do look nicer without the devil horns. I agree. What are the devil horns? I'll show you. The devil horns refers to these little horns here on the ends that help protect the motor a little bit in a crash. I kind of like the idea of putting those, like, so there are some arm guards, 3D printed arm guards that they've made. I don't know about it ripping off, Siati. I mean, at the end of the day, the arms wear down too. They scuff off. I think if you were to print the TPU at a high infill, probably hold on. Anyway, that's what we ended up doing. It does add weight. Retail cost, it's not actually, I think it's currently being sent out only in FPV crate. But it will be for sale. I'm not going to say that. I think the prices are a little bit more than the regular QAVS, like $5 more. Where's the regular QAVS? Honestly, GetFPV search is so frustrating. Look, let me search for QAVS. Where is it? Where's the QAVS? Here's the QAVS Johnny Freestyle RTF. Where is just the QAVS frame? Oof. If the devil horn arms are $8 each, that's going to suck. That's going to suck. I mean, that'd be half the price of the frame just to get, there we go. I hope they're not $8 each. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, it's 65. I think it's going to come in around 70, 75. I don't think it's going to be as much as the Johnny. I think it's going to come in between the Johnny. So the Johnny is 90. The standard is 65. I think it's going to come in around 70, 75. I don't remember the exact amount. I am knobs. I answered that question. I answered that question in quite a lot of detail. Now you're spamming the chat. Stop it. We discussed the Tinyhawk 2 on 25,000 kV a lot. Jesus. All right. Yeah, Emacs wants you to use a throttle scale when using 2S on the Tinyhawk. Exactly. I mean, 2S on the Tinyhawk 2 is too much, but you can use a throttle scale to scale it down. Let's see here. Nikolai Brutus. Oh, sorry, let me give you my face back. Nikolai Brutus wants to know about batteries for the DJI goggles. The DJI goggles, the V2 goggles, can run off of up to 6S voltage. The simplest thing to do is to just get an XT60 to barrel plug wire and run it off a flight pack. That's the easiest thing to do. You can call them whatever you want. Hello FPV says, do you have anything that isn't named devil horns? You could call it whatever you want. Call it ears, cat ears, koala ears. Call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. What was the reason for wanting a separate carbon piece, Connor Brock? What do you mean, Connor? I have not yet flown the GemFan 5.2-inch props. Jeet wants me to build a shop in India. First of all, I don't have a shop, for the record. I partner with other people. I am seeing what it takes to run a retail store and I'm not interested. And the same reason you can't get any product in India is exactly the same reason I couldn't bring product into India. The ability to import product to India doesn't change, as far as I know, it doesn't change if you're a shop versus an individual customer. So the exact same problems would still occur. I mean, why aren't Indians creating shops in India to import products into India? I mean, some of them are, but there's a lot of problems importing FPV stuff into India. There's no way that I would be able to navigate that better than an Indian who is doing it, who is, knows the lay of the land. So that will not be a problem. There are so many customers and very few products to be found. And Indians are so resourceful and industrious. So why are Indian entrepreneurs not bringing products into India? That is the question that has to be answered. And the idea that I would do it better just because I have a big name, no. I will not be starting an Indian FPV store. Yes, there's need for that. And there's lots of Indian entrepreneurs who are apparently not able to solve it. And I can't do it any better. That's for sure. Jeckley says, how do you feel about clones of the Apex frame? UT sells one. Who's UT? University of Tennessee? Surely not. UT sells one because Impulse RC won't reply to them. Who is UT, Jeckley? Who is selling an Apex clone? I'm of two minds about cloned frames. If what you've done is literally put the parts of the frame on a scanner and import them into CAD and cut them, I feel like you're doing a disservice to the frame designer. Like, it took a lot of work and time to come up with this design. Specifically, the way the arms mount is very, very clever. And the people who put the work in to design a frame like this deserve to be compensated for their time. I think that a lot of times there is an oversensitivity to cloning. Anytime anybody does anything remotely similar to what someone else has done, some people say, oh, cloning. And it's like, stop, just stop. It'd be like when Pepsi, really, you got Coke, and then you got Pepsi, and then you got RC Cola. Cloning! They're cloning soda! They're not cloning, they're competing. I mean, there's sodas out there that, like, try to taste as close to a Coke as possible. They do their best. So I think that there is some over accusation of cloning that if somebody else were to go, oh, that's a pretty good idea, and like design something similar based on this idea, that's just competition. But if you're literally building compatible parts by scanning that, I feel like that's where you've crossed the line. Now, you said Unmanned Tech does this because Apex won't talk to them. I mean, so they won't talk to you. So they don't want to sell you their frames. That doesn't necessarily give you the right to just say, all right, well, I mean, it's their frame. If they won't sell it to you, it doesn't give you the right to just copy it. Now, I don't know the details of this situation, and I don't want to sound like I'm pointing a finger at Unmanned Tech Shop. This is just a comment that somebody left saying that I don't want to sound like I'm weighing in here when I don't really know all the details. But the same, yeah. So I think you definitely want to support people. The thing is, if you want a cheap frame, the counter argument is, yeah, but I can't afford $100. I'm not going to pay $100 for an Apex. That's ridiculous. That's fine. It's your money. You don't have to buy a cloned frame to get a good frame. You could buy a TBS Source 1. In the US, you could buy a Rotorite CL1. You could buy, there's just tons of inexpensive frames that are really good, that are not clones. So you just buy one of them. Or buy a clone and, you know, just live with yourself. But there you go. Yeah, they write a unmanned, do they? It says they write about it. What's the deal? Where do they write about it? Impulse RC Apex, all out of stock. Apex arm covers. I can't find it. Right here. Let's see. HSKRC Apex. Yes, this is an Apex clone. Read our description as to why we've decided to sell it. All right. The short answer is yes. One day they stopped letting us order our products. We tried to get more and they stopped replying to us. Due to demand, we're almost forced. No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I mean, own what you're doing. Impulse RC is not obligated to sell their product to you. If they have elected to make an exclusive deal with another UK dealer, they don't like that we sell frames below their price. That is their prerogative. So, I feel like I don't really like this argument. This is like they have a product. It is Impulse RC's product. It is their prerogative of who they sell that product to. If they decide not to sell it to you, and then you clone it, I feel like that's kind of a bullshit argument. I mean, as a retailer, no one is under any obligation to sell you the product. So develop your own frame. But to just literally clone, straight rip somebody else's product just because you don't like that they won't sell to you, we're forced to do it. No, you're not. You're not forced to do it. We sell frames below their price. Yeah, you violated MAP and the manufacturer decided not to sell to you because you chose not to honor their MAP and you undercut. Wait, the retailer sent you product and said, look, the MAP, the minimum advertised price for this is X. All retailers agree that they're going to honor that. You undercut the MAP to try to take sales away from other dealers who were honoring the MAP, and as a result, the manufacturer said, we're not going to sell to you anymore, which is totally their prerogative. And then in exchange, you said, fine, we're going to clone your frame. Sorry, you're the asshole. You were the asshole when you broke MAP, and now you're the asshole again by cloning the frame. No, you're totally wrong. I don't see any way that you're in the right here, Unmanned Tech. I don't see any way that you're in the right here. I mean, Squishy, I'm not making any assumptions. I don't care whether UMT cloned it or whether they sourced it from somewhere else. Their argument is, we broke MAP. Gah, screw that. And then when the completely predictable and in fact expected consequences of breaking MAP came, then we didn't like that and we decided to clone. Anyway. MAP. People argue about MAP, minimum advertised price, or I'm being told by Michael in Europe it's recommended retail price. They're not allowed to like literally enforce it. People argue about MAP and whether that is like a problem. Mini-Me is saying HSKRC is the manufacturer, not Unmanned Tech Shop. HSKRC clones the frame. Regardless. I mean, I suppose there are probably places where that kind of price fixing is not allowed. In the U.S. at least, that's not so. Because the thing is, let's say the dealer is not obligated, the manufacturer is not obligated to sell to literally anyone. Like, let's say there's a manufacturer and a particular store is mistreating their customers. It's ripping off their customers. And so let's say you got a flight controller or something like that, and they're selling it, and there's a problem with it. The store is not handling customer service correctly, and as a result, your product is getting a bad name because the store is not handling maybe exchanges or support in the way that you prefer. So you say to the retailer, I'm not going to sell to you anymore because selling to you is giving my product a bad name. Well, that has to be legal. You can't say you're obligated to sell to anyone who comes to you with money. So if you make a law that says you may not enforce minimum advertised pricing, it's so easy to circumvent, because all you have to do is say, dear retailer who is selling below MAP, we're cutting you off. Oh, no, it's not because you sold under MAP. Oh, gosh, no. No, there's another reason. We're cutting you off, though. And then unless you can, like, find emails that prove that they did it because you broke MAP, you're out of luck. So there's retailers are going to, or manufacturers are going to enforce MAP. And I think it's very difficult to prevent that, even if there are laws that say you're not allowed to do that. It's recommended pricing. Yeah, we recommend that you don't break MAP or we're going to cut you off. That's how it works. Gregory Hurst reminds us that the UK is not in the EU anymore. Good point. Should say Europe, not the EU. So, here's the thing. I will never be negative towards people who buy cloned frames. If you look at your checkbook and you say, I want this $30 clone of the Apex 5, that's where I want to spend my money, you got to do what you got to do. But if you are a company who's choosing to sell it, I feel like I look at that a little differently. But obviously, without sellers, there wouldn't be buyers, so the morality is gray there. It sort of smears over. But personally, I would prefer that if you want to spend $30 on a frame, you buy a TBS Source 1. It's a great frame. It's $25. It doesn't look like an Apex. Maybe it doesn't have some of the characteristics of an Apex that you would want. But the Apex is a really good frame that a lot of work went into. And Impulse RC deserves to be compensated for that. All right. And Unmanned Tech's argument that we got cut off, so in exchange to getting cut off, we're going to just sell a clone, and if they have a problem with that, they should talk to us. That just sounds like thuggery, blackmail, and just shitty practice. You broke MAP. All right, you got the inevitable consequences, and then you didn't like it, and you did something shitty. So you did two shitty things. Congratulations. You're the asshole. All right. Moving on. There's a counter argument I've made that if something is preposterously easy to clone, then there's less value in it. That's tough because, like, I do think that the ease of copying something contributes to the degree of protection that it deserves. The harder it is to do something, the more the first person who figures out how to do it deserves to be protected for having gone through the trouble of doing it. And that's where patents come in. The problem is that it is trivially easy. You can literally take the parts of this frame, set them on a flatbed scanner, scan them, import them into CAD with very little work. You could now just put it on a CNC machine and make absolute 100% part-for-part compatible replacements. And I know how much work goes into making a frame. It's months, sometimes 6 months of work, cutting and testing and cutting and testing. And for someone to just short-circuit that by cloning it, I do acknowledge that there's a problem with that. Clones aren't going to have the same quality control. Absolutely, Gregory Hurst. You're absolutely right. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. I'm using a T-Motor F55A Pro on 5112 420 kV motors turning 15-inch props. Are there other parameters besides amps that could be an issue? 35 amp max. I definitely think I would turn DMAG to high, just in case those big low kV motors have a really different the time it takes to what's the word? The time it takes for the coil to charge up and discharge. I would probably run DMAG high just to be safe. You might want to talk to other people who are flying those motors and see if there's a timing change that you would want to do. I don't know for sure what the optimal timing is, but the optimal timing may be different. Maybe use auto timing, Coelho, just to be sure. So I'm not sure whether 23 degrees would be right. It's such a low kV, you might not need that high of a timing, but I don't know the answer to that. Squishy, that's a good point. We can't underestimate how much work goes into the quality control in the manufacturing process. Anybody who's run a CNC mill or a 3D printer or anything like that knows that you don't just take the DXF file, drop it onto the machine, and walk away. A lot of work goes into quality control in manufacturing this stuff, and that the cheaper frames aren't going to have that. That being said, it's not rocket science either. Tiago Bento, thanks for a $5 super chat. I just received my QAVS JB edition, and I love the purple color. What motors and stack do you recommend? When I do my ultimate freestyle build, I'll be using the JB F7 stack. For motors, I'll be using the FPV Cycle 5-inch motor. Currently, the FPV Cycle 5-inch motor cannot be purchased. Bob says he told me, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. I'm going to say it anyway, but don't hold me to it. He told me that he was maybe a month out from having the replacement bells. So he has the motors, but the bells were not made right. And he went back to the manufacturer and said, F you, make me the bells that you told me you were going to make me. And they had to do a whole nother run of bells. And then is he going to hand replace the bells? I don't know. But it's about a month away, at least a month away, let's say, from being able to buy the 5-inch motors. The other thing I would say is you might consider using the Redux Air ESC instead of the iFlight ESC, because I think those but the Redux Air is a 20 millimeter. Does Redux have a 30 millimeter ESC? I'm not sure about that. Huff19, Bob has the updated bells, but he doesn't have 5,000 of them to put on the motors. He's not selling the motors yet. I asked him, when are you going to be able to sell those motors? Because I'm going to put out my freestyle build, and I want people to be able to buy the motors, but it looks like it's going to be closer to the end of June, according to him. But that's what he told me, and now I'm telling you. So please take that with a big grain of salt, because I don't know if he's made a public statement about that, and I'm kind of spilling the tea a little bit. But, you know, it's my live stream, so. Thank you, Andrew Duncan. Here's another $5 for the knowledge you provided. Thanks for answering my question. Your answer made me feel better about my first drone choices. Absolutely. Michael, thank you for a $5 super chat. 6S build, which one would you buy? iFlight Zing 2 2306 1755 kV or HGLRC Aeolus 1900 kV? 1900 kV will not kill the battery too quickly, Michael, and if it does, you can always use a throttle scale to scale it down. I would take the Zing 2 all day, though. The Zings are very high-quality motors in general. 1755 kV is going to be great for freestyle. It won't have quite as much top end as a 1900 kV. I'm in general just a little bit suspicious of HGLRC. Usually their electronics are the problem, though. Fingers FPV, thanks for $10. Super chat. Kyung Kim, thanks for a $5 super chat. Today's rant. We went to fly. 2 out of 3 quads wouldn't fly. Yep. Went home to troubleshoot. They work perfectly. Damn it. That drives me crazy. Dan Navarro, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's the best way to connect an analog camera, the Foxeer Aero Mini, to the T-Motor F7 HD? Yeah, you can't. Some DJI flight controllers also have analog circuitry. Some don't. The T-Motor F7 does not. It is DJI only. It doesn't have the capability to make an analog OSD, so you can't. You just connect it directly to the VTX and you don't have OSD. Penguins Can Fly, thank you for a €5 super chat. Which Emu flight tutorial would you recommend? I don't know if I have an Emu flight tutorial. I mean, the thing is, just download Emu flight, flash it, just like you flash Betaflight. Do a CLI dump first, please. Save your CLI dump first from Betaflight. And then, setting up Emu Flight is more or less the same as setting up Betaflight, in that you set up your ports tab, you get your receiver working, you set your endpoints. All the Emu Flight stuff is in the PID controller, and you would want to start on the defaults anyway. Will parts be available in the UK for your frame? I bought the FPV crate. In general, Lumineer stuff is not... is Lumineer stuff carried in the UK? I don't know about that. I couldn't promise you that it was going to be available in the UK, I'm sorry to say. I know a lot of Get FPV and Lumineer stuff is only available from Get FPV. Some of it's resold in other stores. What was that website in the news that lets you search for European stuff? Let me go back to the news. Yeah, it was this. Here's the news. Where is that? EU Shop Finder. There we go. fpvshops.eu. So let's just search for Lumineer at fpvshops.eu. What do they got? There's a lot. Let's search for QAVS. No. So currently the QAVS is not available in any of these EU shops. So I would think that that would probably be the same for the others. Sorry about that. Yeah, Slipper FPV, after you fly Emu Flight on the defaults, there are preset tunes that you can try out. So that's what I would do next. Unfair Frame 653, what's a good freestyle or cruiser for about $300? I mean, ready to fly the iFlight Nazgul V2, the Diatone Roma F5 V2, and the Gep RC Mark IV are 3 that I usually recommend. Mad Fiction FPV, thank you for $2 super chat. Are they able to change the color of carbon fiber? Carbon fiber itself is black, but a lot of companies have done hydro dipping, and that's a common way to, like, if you look at the Schizo Lumineer frame, it's hydro dipped. So. Oh my goodness, some drama in the chat. I am Knobs. If I'm not answering your question, it doesn't mean you should spam it. It just means that your question may not get answered. Do you know how you can be sure I'm going to answer your question? If only there was a way you could make sure that your message got called out into a separate tab of questions that I was definitely going to answer. If only there was a way. If only there was a way. Spamming the chat is not the answer, though. Oh, it turns out you can dye carbon fiber strands. I didn't know that. I don't know what I am Knob was doing, but if I see other people in the chat being annoyed at you, I'm going to assume that you're out of line. Couldn't you dye the resin? I suppose so. The carbon obviously is black. Daniel P 489, going back to the question about the throttle not working. Thank you for $5 super chat, Daniel P. Tried changing the output of mixer screens with no change to the throttle in Betaflight. The thing is, Daniel P, you need to be looking at the. Where's my radio? Hold on. You need to be looking at. Thank you so much for that. Oh yeah, let's get that taken care of. Oh, switch warning too. Oh my goodness. So you need to be looking at this screen on your radio. You can, right, and see that the throttle channel is moving. Okay, where else can you see that? I think if you're in the mixer screen. Yeah, so if you're in the mixer screen and you look and you highlight, where is it? There we go. And you highlight the throttle channel in the mixer screen, down at the bottom, you can also see the channel and the control moving. And notice that there are two separate things here. One is the output of the channel, and one, I think, is the position of the control. Verify that that is actually moving, and that will tell you that the controller is outputting. And then that's the first thing you need to check before we decide if the flight controller is messed up, okay? All right. The throttle is moving on those screens. Okay, so that's the... Damn. Are you using Crossfire? In Crossfire, there's the ability to change the output of each of the individual channels. It's in the Crossfire Lua script. I have Ghost in my radio at this moment, so I'm not going to show you. In the Crossfire Lua script, there's the option to remap the channels. If you're running Crossfire and there's a channel that is not responding, one thing that often has happened is that you've accidentally changed that. Go into the Crossfire Lua script and check your output channels. Let me see if I can find in the Crossfire manual. Maybe I can find an example of it. Come on. There we go. So here's what you want. In the Crossfire Lua script, or TBS Agent Lite, there's the output channel map. And you can change, for example, you could change channel 8 to BLQ. If you have accidentally somehow remapped this, that would cause your throttle channel not to work. So that's a thing that has happened. What do I think about the Eachine Novice 4? Nazim asks. Let me ask you guys this. Eachine Novice 4. Let's put it up on screen. The Novice 4. So this is, it's got the EV800 DM goggles, which are solid beginner goggles, cost like 80, 100 bucks, I think. And the Radiomaster TX12, which is a solid beginner radio. Has 430 bucks for this kit. How about the quad, though? Is the quad any good? That's the question. Because 400 bucks is, I mean, most ready-to-fly beginner kits are closer to 200 bucks, but they don't have this quality. Is this a solid buy? What do you think? Corsair FPV wants my opinion of the Runcam Hybrid. I'm pretty sure that Ciotti likes the Runcam Hybrid, Corsair, for his 3-inch freestyle builds where he doesn't want to carry a GoPro. So if Ciotti likes it, that's good enough for me. I guess my question is there some fatal flaw to this quadcopter that I don't know about that makes it like a total no-go? Or is it passable? Ciotti says those arms are going to break instantly. Yeah, so for example, that's a thought that I've had. Is it good to start a beginner on one of these lightweight 4 inches? These things are not designed to crash. Is this the right quad? I mean, you say, well, it's a 4-inch. It's less powerful. It's easier to learn on. Yeah, but is it gonna survive the 200 crashes? That's the other thing. Good point, Johnny DRC. $100 for the goggles, yeah, $100 for the TX12, more or less. That means you're paying $230, more or less, for this. Well, you got other stuff in there. I take that back. There's batteries, there's a charger, but you're paying around $200, let's say, maybe $175 for this quad. Is it worth it? This is a tough one. I'm super hyped that somebody has made a good quality beginner kit ready to fly out of the box with a decent controller that you're actually going to keep using. But I'm not convinced. I don't know. Maybe. Will it crash and break? That's the big question. I'm not sure. Andy RC liked it, says Penguins Can Fly. It's bound and ready to fly. That is a big plus. Oh my goodness, I Am Knobs is desperately trying to get his question answered. Let's answer I Am Knobs' question. Let's find I Am Knobs' question first. I'm scrolling. Where is it? I don't see it. Oh my God. I don't see it. I can't find it. It's going to keep happening. Issues 4211, thank you for a $5 super chat. I love the 3-inch Titus from Cyclone FPV. Yes, I am a fanboy. If the beginner bundled that with liftoff, then yes, says Squishy7. Good point, Squishy. 5 to 10 hours of liftoff, and then they're more than fine to fly that quad. Good point. Good point. That's a good argument. Albert Kim didn't think it was that good for beginners, says VenLive. Maybe I should try it out. What's the strongest 5-inch frame that you can get in Europe, says CH3FPV. The strongest 5-inch frame that you can get in Europe. Interesting. What's a good strong frame? I mean, presumably you're ordering from Banggood, right? So it's going to be a clone of something else. The Talon. The Apex. I mean, obviously the Apex is pretty strong. Shocker Tank. I mean, the Shocker Tank I don't think is available in Europe. Mr. Huggy suggests the Archon V2. Ciotti is... Now, that's why I like Ciotti. He'll always... I like people who are just rip into something. It's very useful. Ciotti says it's stupid to make the arm attachment point that thin. It's going to break. And you're going to crash. Even if... No matter how experienced you are, you're going to crash. Let's get a closer look. Yeah. So we got these 2 screws here, and that's it. These arms are going to break. Should this be a solid bottom plate? Would that be better? I think it would. The Dutch strongest 5-inch frame in Europe, says EBRFPV, is the Dutch What the FPV Dead Cat. Mr. Huggy, Halo RC Osiris, in my opinion, is not a very strong frame. Now, it is strong for what it is, but it's designed primarily for lightweight. So, for example, they're using 2mm carbon throughout. The bottom plate might be 3. It is not ultra strong. If you said, excuse me, if you said, give me a frame with a good balance of strength and weight, yeah, absolutely, this is a great frame. But if you just said, give me the strongest frame, you didn't say anything about weight, you didn't say anything about price. This is not that frame. This is not just the strongest. I was going to look for... let's look at the Flywheel Explorer, which is kind of the original. Let's see if we can figure out... Like, how did Dave C. do it? I mean, Ciotti, this is how Dave C. built the damn thing. His arms pretty much attach the same. Don't they? Don't they, Ciotti? Isn't this pretty much the same as the Novice? What's different? I mean, none of these are really designed to crash very well. Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest weakness of this Eachine kit. Is that these 4-inch long-range style quads are designed to do very gentle, non-aggressive, high-in-the-air, cruising style flying. They are just not designed to crash very much. Ciotti says on Dave's frame, there's a lot more meat at the arm attachment points. The arms taper. I guess I see what you're getting at. It's hard to tell because there isn't a clean bottom view of the Flywheel Explorer. If only I actually had one right over there in the closet. There's a gap between the mounting points and no taper on the arms. Yeah. So just don't freaking crash it. It's going to break, I guess is the takeaway. All right, there you go. Thank you. What about the Chris Rosser build, the AOS 5? People have been asking about this. MPFPV says Umagod has a warehouse in the UK. You could get the Moongoat. Moongoat's pretty tough. Corey flies it. Corey breaks a lot of shit, though. Chris Rosser AO5. Let's look at Chris's frame. What's the name of the frame? AOS 5. Let's see here. Where's he selling it? CNC Madness. Well, I mean, obviously the resonance performance of the frame, we have to assume it's going to be amazing. Right, clearly. Let's see. See a bigger picture? Oh, come on. Thank you. It's got a 30mm mounting up front and behind. That's pretty cool. I can't think off the top of my head of any other frame that has dual 30mm mounting. I know they exist and the chat's going to tell me about them. Most frames will be 30 millimeter in the center, 20 millimeter in the rear. That's pretty slick. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do with that, but it's pretty slick. It looks to me like some ESCs are going to struggle with the clearance. Like this section here is a little tight, and some ESCs are going to struggle. I think people could probably work around that. You know, there's worse frames in terms of that, in terms of clearance. Now, it's interesting that the arms, how do the... Oh, I see. Because you've got the triangle truss, the arms don't touch. They don't come through and touch here. I guess that saves some weight, and you could run your power lead out the back there. Oh, room for an air unit in the back too. Very clever. If you're running the air unit, it looks like you can push the antennas up against that plate. I'm not sure about that. That's good because it keeps the antennas retained. I hate this antenna mounting method. This is awful. No one should do this. Guess it's not the worst. I don't like it. That's gonna. It feels like that's gonna get snagged and get ripped out. I really don't like that. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but it's just I recoil from that a little bit. Does a battery strap go through the center? It looks like you're going to have a battery strap here through the center, and then like one in the rear, if you want it dual. He says he mounted the antennas this way for resonance. I like that the stack screws are not co-located with the arm screws. I really think those MMCX connectors are going to pop out of the air unit. But I would be running with the Vista anyway, so it doesn't really matter. If you're going to run with the air unit, you have to press the MMCX against something to keep them in. Otherwise, they pop out. What's the weight? What's the weight of the frame? Does it say? It doesn't say. How much does it weigh? 115 grams with all hardware. Respect. It looks like it would be heavier than that. Props out of view of the camera, I believe. It's not bad. Yeah. It's interesting. It doesn't look very inspiring, does it? I mean, who cares, right? You don't see the quadcopter in the camera anyway. I've made that argument. It doesn't, like, make you go, ooh, what a beautiful frame. I bet it gets the job done, though. Seems like it probably gets the job done. 6mm arms. Yeah. Anyway. When I've had quads with that front brace before, the front brace usually breaks in a hard frontal impact. My gut feeling is that a wider arm would be stronger in a frontal impact. But that truss is going to help. Does it matter that the flight controller isn't in the center of mass? The good Nat asks. The short version is no. No, it doesn't matter. It turns out it doesn't matter. On a really big quadcopter, if you were flying in auto level mode, it would slightly matter. Michael Hill, thanks for a $20 super chat. I actually got to a wobbly hover after you told me to take bidirectional D-shot off after a death roll crash. What makes it flip out with D-shot? I'm trying to get my quad to stay in the air. So if turning off bidirectional D-shot causes your quad to stop death rolling, like the quad will fly with bidirectional on, but it death rolls, then you turn it off. The problem is electrical noise. Your motor signals are being corrupted by excess electrical noise. Bidirectional is a more complicated signal. It's easier to corrupt. By turning bidirectional off, now you reduce the death rolls, but the underlying problem of electrical noise corrupting the signal still is there. So we got to figure out why it's flipping out. Is it a bad ESC? Is there a problem with the motors causing electrical noise? Yeah. Would it matter for iNav stuff? Asks Buzzkill. So Buzzkill, here's the deal. If you have a flight controller that's operating in acro mode, the gyro sensor is what's being used. And the gyro sensor doesn't really care where in the frame it's mounted. Think about this. Let's say I've got this frame and I rotate the frame 90 degrees on the roll axis. Do you see that every part of the frame rotated 90 degrees all at the same time? So a gyro sensor mounted anywhere on the frame will measure the exact same measurement. It'll read the exact same reading, regardless of if it's mounted at the CG or not, because the frame is rigid. If we take a non-rigid object, now we could have this, and this part of it is rotating 90 degrees, right? While some other part of it is staying still. And what we would see is if we start rotating it 90 degrees per second or whatever, it'll kind of roll up. This part is staying still. This part's rotating. Then we would have a non-rigid object. But with a rigid object, all parts of the object rotate together, so it doesn't matter where the gyro is located. That's why in acro mode, it kind of doesn't matter where you mount the flight controller. Now, here's why it does matter. Because the resonance and vibration characteristics of this quadcopter are different at different parts of the frame. So if you were to mount the flight controller out at the end of an arm, which we wouldn't, but the vibration of that arm, look at Chris Rosser's videos where you can see that the arms of the quadcopter, it isn't actually rigid at like the micro scale. So there are parts of this quadcopter that are going to have more vibration than others. But in general, the gyro is going to, if you filter out that vibration, which we do, the gyro is going to fly the same no matter where in the quad the flight controller is mounted. Now, in auto level mode, you have an accelerometer which measures acceleration. So if we think about rotating this quad on the yaw axis, if we are right at the CG and we rotate, there will be no acceleration because right at the CG, it will just be rotating but not accelerating, right? But if you think about it, if we were measuring right here with an accelerometer and we yaw, right? What we will measure is a forward acceleration. You see what I mean? And in fact, actually, a forward and to the right acceleration as we yaw. So having the flight controller mounted off-center slightly affects angle mode, but doesn't affect acro mode really much at all. And it turns out that the quadcopters, these little quadcopters are so small that even if you're like, 5 centimeters off from the CG, the difference is undetectable. It's pretty much undetectable. Yep, there's a lot of confusion about this because you are moving faster if you are out at the edge of the record player. Your velocity is higher, but gyros don't measure velocity. The centripetal force or centrifugal force, whichever one it is higher, but gyros don't measure that. That's an acceleration. The gyro measures the speed of rotation, ELO. It measures the speed of rotation, not movement. So a gyro measures, let's say this is turning at 360 degrees per second, 1 rotation per second. Every part of it rotates 360 degrees in 1 second. The velocity at the end of the arm is higher, but the rotational rate is the same, and that's what a gyro measures. Whoa, geez, we're 1 minute from the end of the stream. I got carried away. Ciati, start posting the link to your stream. As always, I'm going to be getting off the air in just about 1 minute. Aaron Ciati is going to be streaming on his channel. He's going to start posting the link. Ciati. GPS is the only thing that can measure the speed of motion. That's correct, Ciati. GPS can measure the speed of motion. Why don't we use the speed of motion? Because lots of quads don't have a GPS. Acceleration can be used to infer information about speed. Is there a good dead cat style frame? Thank you, Dmitry Kalnin. I got to get this super chat out of the way. 449 rubles. Is there a good dead cat style frame? I like to keep my camera angle low, and I'm tired of props in the GoPro. What's a good dead cat style frame? What's a good... now, because it's the end of the stream and I'm stressed that I ran up into Ciati's time, I can't think of one. What's a great dead cat? Help me out, guys. iFlight DC5, not bad. What's a great dead cat style frame? Michael Hill, thank you for a $10 super chat. A degree is a measurement of rotation, not distance. Degrees per second is not a measurement of velocity. No, sir. No, sir. Absolutely wrong. A degree is a measurement of rotation. Degrees per second is not a measure of velocity unless you know the distance from the rotation point. Then you can translate it to velocity. Degrees per second is not a measure of velocity. I am rotating at 360 degrees per second. How fast am I going? You don't know unless you know how far from the rotational point I am. Then you can calculate the circumference of the circle and know how fast I'm going. I was going to say FPV Cycle Glide. Thank you, Dmitry Collin. FPV Cycle Glide is not a dead cat, but it doesn't have props in view. It pushes the arms backwards. TBS Source 1, is that a dead cat? Cineglide. All right. The Cineglide, I see. Remy Tim. Take a look at the FPV Cycle Cineglide, Dimitri. Or the iFlight DC5 is a solid one and is available. The QAVS is not a dead cat. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much. Rotational velocity is not degrees per... Is that degrees per second? Maybe. Velocity is usually like meters per second. You can't convert from degrees per second to meters per second without knowing the distance. All right, I got to wrap up because it's now 3:02 p.m. and Ciati is getting started. You can buy dead cat arms for the Glide. Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys so much. Ciati, have a great stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, but I'm still streaming at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will see you there. Happy flying, everybody.